everyone. Welcome back to Some Random Guy and God. This is like the 5th episode of Into the Word, I think. Don't take my word for it. Look in the description just to be sure. The description is always right. Last time I asked you guys to read Genesis 8 through 9. I hope you did that, because we'll be going straight into it today. Let's not waste any more time. Last week we talked about Noah's genealogy and how the ark came to be, pretty much. It was a good time. But this time we're going to find out what happens. Last time we checked, Noah was on the ark for 150 days. That's a long time. That's like half a year. Anyway, without wasting any more time, but God remembered Noah and all the beasts and all the livestock that were with him in the ark. And God made a wind blow over the earth, and the waters subsided. The fountains of the deep and the windows of the heavens were closed. The rain from the heavens was restrained, and the waters receded from the earth continually. At the end of 150 days the waters had abated, and in the 7th month, on the 17th day of the month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Verse 5, and the waters continued to abate until the 10th month. In the 10th month, on the 1st day of the month, the tops of the mountains were seen. I mean, that's a long stinking time. The waters continued to abate for a while. At the end of the 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark that he had made, and then he sent forth a raven, went to and fro until the waters were dried up from the earth. Then he sent forth a dove to see if the waters had subsided, but the dove didn't find a place to rest. And so it came back, and then he waited 7 days, and then he sent it out again. This time, the dove came back with an olive branch. There's kind of a lot of symbolism being thrown around here, like all willy-nilly. Not all willy-nilly. There's purpose behind it, I promise. So going back to verse 10, it says he waited another 7 days, and again he sent forth a dove out from the ark. Now, him waiting 7 days is very significant because 7 represents completion. We see this all the way back in Genesis, actually. So God created the earth in 6 days, and on the 7th day he rested. Not because he had to rest, not because he was tired, but because of what it represents. It means he's done, and that he can rest knowing that it is good. He has peace about it, because it's complete. It's good. So that's what that's representing. He's saying, like, he waited another 7 days, and then after 7 days, he released the dove again. And it's just saying, your time on the ark is over. You don't have to worry anymore. It's all good. That's what that represents. And then in verse 11, the dove came back with an olive branch in its mouth. Well, it says olive leaf. And olive leaves and olive branches represent peace. It's symbolic, but it's real. It's real life. And God had it all planned out from the beginning. And it's so cool. So no one of the waters had subsided from the earth because the dove came back the first time with an olive leaf. The next time he waited 7 days, and then the dove did not return. So, verse 13, in the 601st year, in the 1st month, on the 1st day of the month, the waters were dried from off the earth. And Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and behold, the face of the ground was dry. In the 2nd month, on the 27th day of the month, the earth had dried out. Then God said to Noah, go out from the ark, you and your wife, and bring your sons and your sons' wives with you. Bring out with you every living thing that is with you, all flesh, birds and animals, every creeping thing that creeps on the earth, that they may swarm on the earth and be fruitful and multiply on the earth. So Noah went out, and his sons and his wife, and his sons' wives with him, every beast, every creeping thing, every bird, everything that moves on the earth went out by families from the ark. And so if we go back to verse 13, it says, in the 601st year. That means Noah, the animals, and his family were on the ark for a year. I can't even imagine that. Like, that's insane. On the ark for a whole year with, like, no end of the flood in sight. Crazy guy, crazy cool guy. He knew what was up. But yeah, and then they were released. God made sure they were all safe. Then he blesses them again, like we see a repeat of that from Genesis. He told, in Genesis, when he had created everything, he told the animals, and then he told the humans, be fruitful and multiply on the earth. And it's like he's starting over again, because we see that repeated. And I think that's really cool. And I just now noticed that, so there's that as well. Verse 20, we're still in verse 8, but we're almost done. Chapter 8, but we're almost done. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and took some of every clean animal and some of every clean bird, and offered burnt offerings on the altar. And when the Lord smelled the pleasing aroma, the Lord said in his heart, I will never again curse the ground because of man, for the intention of man's heart is evil from his youth. Neither will I ever again strike down every living creature as I have done. While the earth remains, seed time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, day and night shall not cease. But he set up an altar. He's like, thank you, God, for saving me. And for all that you've done, because honestly, he really came through for Noah. He never gave up on Noah, and Noah never gave up on him. Because it never mentions a time where Noah was doubting him. I'm sure there were times he was, because that's human. For us to doubt God. For us to doubt our future. Like, it's so uncertain, and especially when it looks so bleak, and all you can see are the chaos and the waters of life. Like, we still have to trust God that he's going to take care of us. It doesn't say that Noah ever struggled with that, but it doesn't necessarily come into the overarching story of the Bible anyway, because the overarching story of the Bible is Jesus and our relationship with God being restored. Like, we're seeing it crumble and then building it back up, and then Jesus taking it up and restoring it for us. Anyway, going to chapter 9. And God blessed Noah and his sons and said to them, be fruitful and multiply and fill the earth. The fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth and upon every bird of the heavens, upon everything that creeps on the ground and all the fish of the sea. Into your hand they are delivered. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And as I gave you the green plants, I give you everything, but you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. That's confusing, not gonna lie. Didn't really follow that. A lot of reckoning from man. And then it says, this is in quotations, so this is what God said in verse 6. Whoever sheds the blood of man, by man shall his blood be shed. For God made man in his own image. I guess this is continuing the quotation. And you, be fruitful and multiply. Teem on the earth and multiply in it. End quotation. Then God said to Noah and to his sons with him, behold, I establish my covenant with you and your offspring after you, and with every living creature that is with you, the birds, the livestock, and every beast of the earth with you, as many as came out of the ark, it is for every beast of the earth. I establish my covenant with you, that never again shall all flesh be cut off from by the waters of the flood, and never again shall there be a flood to destroy the earth. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant that I make between me and you, and every living creature that is with you, for all future generations. I have set my bow in the cloud, and it shall be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. When I bring clouds over the earth, and the bow is seen in the clouds, I will remember my covenant that is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall never again become a flood to destroy all flesh. When the bow is in the clouds, I will see it, and remember the everlasting covenant between God and every living creature of all flesh that is on the earth. God said to Noah, this is the sign of the covenant that I have established between me and all flesh that is on the earth. He repeated himself like 3 times right there, which means it's important. And that's so cool. That's where rainbows come from. There was one time I was driving, and I was by myself, and it was pretty sunny out. I don't think it had rained. Okay, actually, there was like a storm cloud over to the left. I was in the driver's seat, obviously, because I was driving by myself. But like on the left, it was like kind of stormy. It was sunny where I was. But then I saw one of the most vibrant rainbows I've ever seen in my life, and I like started crying because because of what it represents. It's God. It's a sign of God's covenant with Noah and all of mankind forever. And that's so cool. I've followed Jesus and God my whole life, and just seeing proof. I don't necessarily need proof to know that God is real. Like, we just have faith. That's what faith is believing without seeing. But it's really nice to see it sometimes. Anyway, I love rainbows. So it's really interesting, actually. We're jumping way back to the beginning of 9. This is verse 4, I think. But you shall not... No. It's verse 3. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. Which is... I wondered, because in Genesis, it says, you shall eat of all the plants that I've given you. Like, he didn't say they were going to eat the animals. He didn't say eat the animals. He said eat the plants. But here he's saying... He's like changing it for some reason. Every moving thing that lives shall be food for you. And as I gave you green plants, I give you everything. But then something interesting, but you shall not eat flesh with its life, that is, its blood. So don't eat blood. That's probably more for the Jews, but still, honestly, I don't even like my hamburger or steak to be like rare at all. If there's pink in it, I'm like, bleh. So then we go into verse 18. The sons of Noah who went forth from them were from the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan. Interesting. Canaan was like a people group. The Canaanites, are they the Canaanites? The Canaanites? I don't know. I always called it Canaan. I always heard Canaan. I've said it like my entire life until 2 years ago. I said Canaan like I always did, and then all of a sudden my parents were like, Canaan? I mean, what else do you call it? Canaan. And I was like, ugh. So I don't know what to call it anymore, because it was like, I've always heard Canaanites and Canaan, like the land of Canaan. But is it Canaan and Canaanites? Who knows anymore? Who cares? These three were the sons of Noah, and from these the people of the whole earth were dispersed. Noah began to be a man of the soil, and he planted a vineyard. He drank of the wine and became drunk, and lay uncovered in his tent. Man, that was like a really dramatic shift. Everything was good, everything was fine, and then Noah was like, I'm gonna get drunk. I mean, he probably didn't plan on getting drunk, unless he did. And Ham, the father of Canaan, I want to say Canaan, and the father of Canaan saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brothers outside. Then Shem and Japheth took a garment, laid it on both of their shoulders, and walked backward and covered the nakedness of their father. Their faces were turned backward, and they did not see their father's nakedness. When Noah awoke from his wine and knew what his youngest son had done to him, he said, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall he be to his brothers. He also said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. May God enlarge Japheth, and let him dwell in the tents of Shem, and let Canaan be his servant. I'm sorry, but what just happened? I've always thought this was a weird passage. I don't understand it. Okay, there's a theme here. I understand one theme, and that is no one is perfect, right? Okay, even the biblical characters who were real, they're not just characters, they were real people. Even they had their own flaws. Noah was good up until this point. I hadn't heard a bad thing about Noah up until this point. It says he got drunk, and he got naked, and then he cursed his son. Huh? I don't understand. It's really confusing to me. But the theme I do understand is that no one is perfect, and God tries to show that in the Bible, to help his overarching theme, like God uses broken people to be vessels of himself and to do the greater works, which is super cool. But for some reason, I really don't understand why he cursed his son. Okay, so I looked it up, and it appears that what Ham should have done was cover up his father immediately, but it sounds like in the Bible that he went and told his brothers as a way to make fun of Noah, his father, in a naked state. So it appears that the big issue was that if Noah felt like Ham disreputed the patriarch of the family, and because of that, Noah came back at him and disreputed his patriarchal status and his family because he cursed Canaan, not Ham. Oddly enough, it says, Cursed be Canaan, a servant of servants shall be to his brothers, and that's it. It doesn't say he cursed Ham, he just cursed Canaan. So yeah, because it was highly patriarchal back then. So that makes sense. And then after that, it says, After the flood, Noah lived 350 years. All the days of Noah were 950 years, and he died. He was almost a millennium years old. Anyway, so that's it for chapters 8 and 9. Come back next week ready and studied up on chapters 10 and 11. You want to hear this one, the Tower of Babel. It's going to be really good, so come back ready to listen to that. It's going to be awesome. Also, the song of the week is No Bondage by Jubilee Worship. It doesn't really have anything to do with the Bible study this week. It's just amazing, and you should go listen to it because Holy Spirit. Wow. I'll put the link in the description. I'll even put it in the eye up here. Go rock out to No Bondage by Jubilee Worship. It's amazing. You will not regret it. This has been Some Random Guy and God, and we'll see you in the next video.